This nature, this animalistic nature, was discovered in man from the Garden of Eden. Because before the Garden of Eden, man and woman were taking care of the garden. They were taking care of the animals, they were giving them names, they were nurturing the nature, they were nurturing the garden, the leaves and the trees and the animals. But once they fell into sin, that sin discovered in them the selfish nature, because the first thing they did when they discovered that they were naked is that they went to pluck the leaves of the tree to cover their nakedness. So which is already opposite to it, which is already the opposite of what they were doing before, what they were used to. Because what they were doing before was to protect and to keep the garden. But now they have now become a destroyer of that garden. So they started plucking things that they were tendering before, things that they were nurturing before. So from nurturing, they started plucking, cutting, so they became a force of destruction just to cover the self, just to cover their nakedness, their themselves. So selfishness would lead you to destruction. Maybe not immediately the destruction of yourself, but it will first lead you to the destruction of others, and to the destruction of your environment, and to the destruction of everyone around you, and eventually it will lead to self-destruction. Selfishness, therefore, is animalistic. When the attitude of Adam and Eve was about tendering, was about caring for the needs of the garden, when it was about nurturing the things that are in the garden, they were not cutting. They didn't have any need to cut the trees or to pluck the leaves. They were nurturing them. They were caring for them. That is, their priority was right. They were living in accordance to the will of God. So they were living a life of service. They were living a life of service towards the garden. They were living a life of service towards the trees, the animals, and they were not harming them. They were in harmony with nature. So that harmony in nature, with nature, was disrupted and destroyed and ruined because of the sin of man. And that sin woke up the selfish nature, the egocentric nature in man. So now that sin has come and man has become self-centered, because what sin does is that it brought your nakedness. And when they became naked, they started seeing their nakedness. So the concentration, the attention was now on them. Instead of the focus and the attention to be on the glory of God, on doing the will of God, on establishing the purpose of God. So they didn't see nakedness because their attention was not on them. Their attention, their focus was on God, on pleasing God, on bringing the will of God to pass. But right now, because of sin and selfishness, their attention became egocentric. They started focusing on themselves. They started noticing themselves and noticing their nakedness. So that's what selfishness does for you. Selfishness makes you to pay too much attention to yourself. That's why service will rather make you to pay better attention, much attention to other people.